Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Friday afternoon igyro training session. Today, we're going to be going through naming conventions in igyro. So this relates to the files that you'll attach into igyro. And a naming convention is really just a consistent way of naming your files that you attach. So when you're naming your files in your file system in Windows, it's a good idea to name them appropriately. That way they're easy to identify when you see them. But it also makes automation possible with inside igyro as well. So I'll start just by opening up the jobs section of gyro and picking a job. Let's have a quick look in attachments. So these are the files that we're planning to name. So I haven't really got many files in this job. There's a couple sitting here in the purchase order folders. A couple of photos sitting here as well. So the naming convention refers to the file name. Now, if we have a look at the quote request tab, which we've covered in a recent training session. So I won't go too much into how that quote request section works, but the quote request section and the orders relies heavily on naming conventions. So if we have a look here, we saw in that previous training session that we could do a bulk send of all of our quote requests just by shift clicking all of these, right click and send quote request. That will send out a quote request to all of those suppliers for all of those different cost centers. Now, the beauty of this is that we're going to use naming conventions to automatically attach files to go along with those requests. So if you notice on the left-hand side here, there's little red exclamation marks. And as in everywhere else in gyro, if you hover your mouse over the top, it'll tell you the reason why that red exclamation mark is there. All right, so if we have a look at this timber frame and truss, for example, we'll hover our mouse over the top, and it's telling us that we're missing the Addendum file, the council plans, and the engineering. So these are all things that would automatically attach when you're sending out a quote request if those files were in place. All right, so over on this right-hand side here, we can see there's a section here called Request Attachments. So these are the files that are automatically attached with that quote request. So we've got two that have matched here. So one of those is an edge document for frames and truss. And the second one here is a purchase order for the wall frames, pre-nail wall frames. But as we saw before, we're missing the Addendum A, council plans, and engineering. So if we go to the Attachments tab, I've got a series of files here that I'll use just to attach into here. So we'll grab the Addendum A. So this is a file named with our naming convention. And I'll just show you here, we've got a PDF document which is available in the global docs of igyro. And it actually runs through this process that I'm talking about now, about naming files. But at the end of that document, we've got a bit of a cheat sheet with some common files that we'll use. So we've got construction plans, site establishment plans, engineering, geotech reports. And it's just a bit of a cheat sheet explaining to you how you should name those files in your file system prior to uploading those to gyro. So in the case of the construction plans, we'll put a date with the client name, job number, and the word construction there. So that's the most important part, and we'll go through that shortly. So if we find the construction plans in the file system here, here it is here. So there's the plans. I just double clicked that. Just wanted to highlight this section here. So that's the most important part, according to our naming convention, is the word construction. All right, so if I put that in place, I'll just drag that into the drawings folder. And we'll do the same for Addendum A into the contracts folder. We'll just have a look at what's happened on this quote request tab. You'll see now we're just missing the council plans and the engineering, and the addendum has shown up in this request attachment section. So we'll go ahead and attach the council plans and the engineering now. And put the engineering in the engineering folder. Have a look at the quote request tab again. You'll notice that just about all of these red exclamation marks have disappeared now. So you're doing this for all of your quote requests here, as well as all of your orders. So the idea behind this is that you're constantly putting your files in place whenever they're available to you. And by the time you're ready to do a quote request or sending out your orders, they're already in place and will automatically be sent for you. So for the peers and piles here, we're missing the geotech report. So we'll put that in place as well. Okay, we've got our geotech there. And we're still missing the geotech report. So we'll dive in and try and work out the reason behind that. So geotech, I'll pull up our cheat sheet again. So here's what we need our file to be called for our geotech. Geotechnical_report. Okay, so if we see in this section here, we've got an extra word in here, so classification. So we just need to fix that up. So you'll notice here I'm just double clicking the file name of this attachment, which is a fairly new feature in Gyro, allowing you to actually rename a file once it's already uploaded. So if I delete that section out of there, now we've followed our cheat sheet naming convention. We're now calling it geotechnical_report. And we'll save that. Bingo. So now we've got our peers and piles quote request, and it's attaching all of these items automatically for us. So there's the council plans, the engineering, and the geotechnical report. So if we were ready to do our quote requests, we could select that top one, select all of these if we didn't care about what this one was missing, and right click, send quote requests, and all of those files that each one of these cost centers required would automatically be attached because they're using a naming convention and put in the right folders. So orders are the same. So we'll have a look here. Most of the red exclamation marks have disappeared. So just letting us know we're missing a DP plan and a HDOF order form plan. All right, so you just need to follow these little red dots, work out where your DP plan should go, put that in place, and then you'll be ready to send out all of your orders in the same fashion. So you can see over here on this right-hand side, all of these files are being automatically attached to those orders. All right, if I shift back to the home screen now, I'll show you where this is all set up under the admin panel. And we'll go to Cost Center. Okay, we can select any one of these, it doesn't really matter. All right, so each one of these cost centers has a different set of automatic attachments that will go with it. So this section here is the purchase order section. So when you're sending out a purchase order, all of these files will be attached. When you're sending out a quote request for that cost center, these 4 files will be attached. Over on this right-hand side here is our naming convention list. So we do have all the defaults set up for you, but if it doesn't suit your business, you can change it to whatever you like. So a couple of the examples we had earlier is this addendum file. So addendum A, when you're attaching that, it's required to be in the contracts folder. And it uses this filter to work out what the name of the file should be. So there's a few special characters here at the start and at the end. So this %sign, we call that a wildcard character. And it just means that any number of characters can precede the text in the middle here. And there can be any number of texts at the end. So if you look at our files again for addendum A, It's referring to this section here at the start of the file name. So that that percent sign will handle all that first part of the file name. The file must contain this section, and the file can end, because of our percent sign, with any number of characters. Now, if we have a look at something else here, go to construction plans. All right, in a similar fashion, we've got the word construction in here. We've got 2 wildcard characters there. But you'll notice here, after that last wildcard character, we've got the characters .pdf as a file extension. So if we look at this file here, the first percent sign will look at this part of the text. Then we need the word construction. We can have any number of characters after that word construction. So that would be acceptable. But it also needs to end with .pdf at the end. So it must be a .pdf file. Okay, you can see that in just this section here. All right, council plans are set up in much the same way. All right, so if you weren't happy with that naming convention, you can just change this for your own business. So if you wanted to, you might want to change that so all of your files must have the word council-plans inside the file name. All right, there's one other section in Gyro that uses the file naming conventions, and that's under our admin panel and notifications. I'll just filter that down to find a notification here. I'll do a round 1. Here we go. So this notification is a sales estimate round 2 complete. And this will notify the sales consultant once that sales estimate's completed. But you'll notice here, we've got a few attachment files. So when these notifications fired off, we can also automatically attach that file to go with that email notification. So to do that, we would choose what folder we want to attach from. So in this case, we want the HDOF changes or contract request folder. And again, we're using that wildcard character. So we're saying when this notification fires off, look into this HDOF folder and find any file name that starts with any number of characters but ends with round2 price.pdf. So you've got space for 3 items there. So if you wanted to, you could attach all photos just by putting a percent sign in. Doesn't care what the name is there. So it'll just attach everything in that photos folder. Or if you just want to say only attach photos with the name house in the file, you just put a percent sign at the start and percent at the end. All right, one last thing I might show you. I'll just send out a dummy quote request just to show you how those files are attached. So while we're doing that, if you've got any questions, just let me know via the message there, and I'll see if I can answer those for you. All right, so here we're going to attach these 5 files with this quote request. So we double click that. There's a little section here. This is the attachment list, and this is where those 4 files will be attached. So I'll send this to myself as a demo. Now, when we hit that send button, this special character list here will be replaced with those files as attachments. So I click send. Here are all of those files automatically attached. So that's very quick, as long as you're attaching your files as they come into your business. And there's probably more manual ways of doing this. Historically, like every supplier needs a different set of attachments to go with it. So you probably spend hours trying to collate all this information and put it into an email because each supplier needs something slightly different. But using our naming conventions and all those rules that we set up in the admin panel, you can automatically attach those. Okay, so that comes to the end of our naming convention tutorial. We haven't had any questions yet, so hopefully we'll see you all next week, 3 o'clock on Friday. Thanks, guys.